Hey guys, welcome to the Empire. We're your hosts, Ashley
and Christian Lewis.
So, okay, back on track. No. I like it. Well, hey guys, welcome to our first podcast episode.
What's up?
You got Christian. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't introduce you.
No,
Ashley. No, you, sir. Ashley Lewis and
Christian Lewis.
Christian. We are Ashley and Christian Lewis. We've been married 18 years, about to celebrate. Go us.
Go us.
Go us. We have 4 kids. Our second daughter is on the spectrum and also was diagnosed with IDD, intellectual development delay. So this has been a journey. We've been through a lot. We've seen a lot. We have had good days. We have rough days. But through it all, we're parenting autism.
That's right. Let's go.
Let's go. So thank you for doing this with me.
No, absolutely.
This
What? I love it to make you smile, girl.
Okay.
Keep it going.
Let's go. I'm keeping it going. So this came about because we moved across the country from Atlanta, Georgia to Northern California. Kind of how I've always documented everything in our life. I'm just that person. Before there were cell phones, I had a video camera on my shoulder.
She had the big camcorders. We were in at school together, and she was the one that was, anytime we were hanging out or whatever, she pulled the camcorder out. She just loved documenting.
I do. If you need any blackmail videos on Christian Lewis back in the day, I got some. So we always documented everything. I didn't really post until we moved away from all our family and friends, started posting online to stay connected with all the people we love and just moved away from. And kind of this whole community found us. It kind of organically happened, like you said, which we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the organic process. And then, so...
You got the giggles today. Okay. I love it.
Well, we had a little spat before we started this. So I can tell when he answers things really short that he's like,
No.
Uh-huh.
No.
Uh-huh.
I love it that we're starting our first podcast like this.
Y'all, this is real life.
Real life.
Parenting. Boy. Parenting all the things. So. Okay. Let's on track. No.
It's okay.
I like it.
All right, go.
Okay, so this came about because is it funny? In our DMs, we had all these questions, these deep dive questions on TikTok and Instagram, and it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and
Facts.
It just is too much to deep dive into every single one. So this is how this came about. Like, hey, okay, what is needed in the autism community? Let's talk about things. We don't know everything. We're a professional, and our daughter, Presley, not really professionals in autism, but we want to share our journey and get feedback from you guys.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks for being on. I wanted to give the father's perspective of parenting autism. I think it's important. I have had more and more dads reach out to me with questions, and I thought it'd be good to get your wisdom and your perspective of 18 years of marriage and
I like that.
14. Oh, wow. This guy, let me tell you. See, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a marriage hack right now. In public, you just make your man like the man. So like, he is amazing. He's my best friend, my roll dog, my ride or die. Like, he's a rock for our family. You really are, babe.
I appreciate it.
Are you receiving this right now?
Hey, okay. Wash it over me. Let it
wash
flow.
over you. Yes. Wow. Okay. So, I appreciate you, and I think that you have a lot of wisdom. You're a great father. You've really been a great partner in this parenting autism and parenting in general, but I just appreciate you. So, all right, you have a 14-year-old daughter who has autism.
Yes.
And IDD, intellectual development delay.
Yes.
So I want to start off, what are some favorite things about Presley currently that you are loving?
Oh, my goodness. Presley is, I think undefeated is her smile. Her smile is undefeated. Aww. So anytime, good or bad, rain, sunshine, whatever, that smile comes out and it just makes the day so much better. And I can't stay in dad mode where if she, got to get on to her about something, I can't because the smile is undefeated. So
Yeah.
I think that's
does have a
one of
great
those
smile.
things that just unlocks me. Her personality, she can really, I don't know, just like make you feel better. And I feel like she's very discerning too. So she's one of those people that like kind of like really reads the situation. And I think it is a part of her personality, but also through her challenges, she's learned to kind of read the room and
Yeah.
those sorts of things, and overly, right? And so I know that she is one of those, I love seeing that look on her face where she's trying to figure a person out.
Figure out. I love that you mentioned that, because I will say she was so delayed in speech and she kind of didn't know what was going on. So she would kind of read the room and the social cues and kind of take it from there,
Yeah.
which made her really good at reading people. And I always look to Presley to be like, is this person legit or not? If she's like, not going to give you the day or the time or day, I'm like, okay, yeah, me neither. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. We have our second beautiful daughter. She's growing up, healthy baby, great delivery, great pregnancy. And about 7 or 8 months, we start noticing that she's not like picking up food from her high chair when they do the cute little clamp the Cheerio. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think anything was wrong. You didn't think anything was wrong. And through kind of the older she's getting, we're noticing she's not picking up food off her high chair at all. It's kind of fine motor skills. Her hands seem to work fine. And so that led us into, let's get her evaluated. Maybe something's off. My mother-in-law, who is, shout out to my mother-in-law, Denise, she's amazing. She kind of mentioned maybe getting her evaluated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought anything was wrong. So we take her.
Yeah.
She's around 14 months old, and they say she's playing at a 6-month-old level. And they weren't going to give her a diagnosis. We just knew there were delays. Do you remember, like, we haven't really processed or unpacked this because we're always in survival mode, I think.
Yeah.
But take me back to, like, when we started seeing delays. What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Honestly, I'm thinking, what are we going to do to, fix it, right? And so at the time, like you said, if you think about kind of the media and like what's common knowledge, autism is not like a word that's out there. You know what I mean? You don't really know what it is. I think it was about 20 years ago when it really started showing up on the scene in a drastic way. People were really kind of like trying to diagnose this. But it could have been further back. But anyway, all that to say, it's very new. So I thought, okay, all we have to do is really, really focus on it. There's these therapy options. Let's just do the therapy. And I think the first feeling is fix it. You know what I mean? And then after a little while, still early on, but after a little while, understanding that it's not necessarily something that you fix. It's something that you work with, you move through, and it's a difference, and there will be challenges, but it's not something that, you cure or anything like that. And,
wow.
Yeah,
because dads tend to take the let me fix it.
They take the let me fix it role and try to stabilize things. But then once I started understanding what it really was, I was like, oh, okay. And then I just had to pivot my expectations and pivot my, approach.
You, to me, thinking back, were really a rock for me. You seemed really unmoved. And there was a season where I was like, is he in denial? Because I felt my emotions were all over the place. Like, what if she has autism? They hadn't given her the diagnosis. Like, what does that mean? And my emotions were all over the place. Like, what does this look like for her future? What does it look like for us? And I felt like I was all over the place, and you felt like she's gonna kind of grow out of it.
Yeah, I think that some of the ignorance is bliss kind of syndrome. I really didn't understand. Again, once I understood, I think I was able to approach it and pivot. But I think what you were feeling was me going, all right, regardless of what I feel, I know that, the nurture in you, you want to, be there and try to, kind of corral everything. And I couldn't be all over the place either. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's something that I feel like we've tried to maintain our entire marriage, which is, if you go crazy,
right.
I won't.
Right,
And if I
right.
go crazy, you
You
don't.
won't. Okay, right?
So either we can go crazy.
We can't go crazy at the same time.
But we can't both be crazy.
Well, it's funny because when I look back, and I think we talked about this the other day for the first time, I felt like, oh, he's in denial and he thinks she's going to grow out of it. So therefore, I felt, you didn't make me feel this way, but I felt alone in the journey because I was feeling everything. And I'm like, well, what does this mean? Well, explain it to me. Like, okay, well, what do we do? How? And it's funny. I usually don't take the fix it mode, but I was like, also, how do we fix it? But you were cool, calm, and collected, and I was falling apart. And I felt very alone, and I felt like I don't have anyone to talk to this about, to talk with this through.
What specifically, though? You didn't have anybody to talk through what part of it? Because we talked about what we were going to do and the steps and stuff.
I think I didn't have anyone to
be
talk
vulnerable.
about. I'm so scared. Like, I'm really scared. And I don't think we talk enough about, like, I remember thinking, what if she has autism? Like, in my mind back then, because there wasn't a lot of awareness and education around it, I was kind of like, this is the worst possible
Almost like a death sentence.
diagnosis. Yes. And I think what we had seen in the media, which was so limited about autism, you're like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be able to live a normal life. Well, duh. But like, even have any kind
how
of
the media portrayed autism. If you think about it,
or special needs,
or special needs, you go back and you look at some of those movies, bro. They wasn't
like
all the way.
They're kind of out of their
you know what I
mind.
mean?
It was almost like mental hospital perspective. That's what I had. I mean,
Either she was going to be a genius, you
Right.
know, that's why they
Like Rain
posted.
Man.
Yeah, one of those, or she's going to just be tweaking out and crazy, and our life will be the same, right? And there's just like,
wow,
it's
we are
not,
being
just not that.
so real right now.
I mean, but it's true. That's how, I didn't say that was right. I'm
So
saying
that's what I
how
felt
they
alone
portrayed it.
about, because I felt like you were the only person that I could actually vocalize that to.
Right.
Like, I can't go to my friends and be like, oh my gosh, my daughter might tweak out the rest of her
Well,
life.
my daughter might be Rain Man. Real talk. Real talk. That I'm just being serious. That's what you thought. That's what you had to go off of.
Yeah.
Thank God there's more awareness now, and
Thank you.
We're more understanding of these things. But back then, I just had no clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
I also remember when she was about to start school.
Yep.
She was in school because she had early intervention. She started going to public school at 3 years old, right? She got all her therapies when she was 3 years old. She started public school. They had like a preschool for her. And then she was about to start kindergarten. And I remember you saying to her teacher, well, can't she just go in a mainstream classroom? Can't she just be in a normal kindergarten classroom? And I just remember them. They didn't do it. We felt so dumb. So we were at our IEP meeting, and they bring in like the special needs kindergarten teacher and then the mainstream kindergarten classroom teacher. And they said, okay, we're going to start this meeting off, and we're going to have the kindergarten teacher in the mainstream classroom tell you what a day looks like in kindergarten. And they're like, well, they read, they write, they do math, and then we have group time. And we were like, oh yeah, oh wow, okay, well, she's not talking. And I remember you like 10 seconds in, you're like, okay, we're good. Yeah,
we
okay.
got it. Okay.
We got it. She can't be in the normal. So we were like, okay. So I think every milestone like that, even now, every new milestone, you're just like, oh, dang, okay, this is what this is. And then you pivot.
But I will say every child is different too. You know, I've met different ones with ASD and different things like that. And everybody's different. And so I like what you said in the beginning, and it's true. We are, professionals in Presley, right? We've got 14 years experience resume of Presley.
Right.
But, every child is different.
Every child is different. Every child has different needs. And so I think that you have been, what I've really admired about you and what has really been such an asset to our family is you have really rallied, and both of us, but you have really rallied the other kids around Presley. and to support her. And this is what family looks like, and this is what loyalty looks like. And we do that across the kids with all their relationships. But what motivated you to really take that stance on, like, this is our girl and we got her back?
I think when I was coming up, this kind of goes back to my childhood. No, I think this goes back to I was the oldest. I was the oldest, and so were you.
Yes.
So when something went wrong, I was oldest by like a decade. Right?
Yeah, me too.
And so when something went wrong or there was a challenge or something, I didn't have a sibling to talk to, and I felt very detached from my family.
Interesting.
From the perspective of like, I know my mom loved me and all that sort of stuff, but having a peer, somebody to really,
because you were more like a caregiver to your siblings.
Yeah.
Like, you helped, even though you were a sibling, but you were so much older.
I was always watching them. I was always, making food for them, always babysitting. Summers, I would always just be at home, just that kind of life, And so when I got married, is that funny? It's like, you're so traumatized.
No, I was thinking about a random story when you threw all their dirty diapers in someone's backyard, and then like the police got called. That's what made. I'm sorry, ADD right here.
Okay, so we're not gonna go into that story, but let's just put it this way: I was young and I was fed up.
He was fed up. He had to change so many diapers, and instead of them walking them to the dumpster, which his mom asked him to do, he would chuck these diapers, like launch them. And they ended up, he thought it was like in the woods.
I thought it was in the woods, but our neighborhood was wedged up, and there were shrubs and forest, but it was very faint. And then on the other side, it was like all this farmland. And so I'd be just throwing them, and this was only for like a couple of weeks before I got found out, but there's this farm.
Basically, all these diapers ended up in the back of someone's yard, and someone was like,
so like,
where are
this
all these
property that's hedged out next to the, anyway, that's a story for another day.
Okay,
I don't even know why
we
we're talking about
it.
this.
We just told it because I'm ADD and I started laughing. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
So anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, I know.
How to rally. Yes, how to rally. How to rally around your siblings. You were the oldest. You had to chuck a lot of diapers.
No, why did you bring that story up? This is so out of nowhere. Okay. Hopefully we can use this segment. So I was the oldest. That really showed me, hey, it's really important to have sibling relationships, and it's really important to reinforce family ties and family bonds, because that wasn't necessarily something in my household that was outwardly expressed. It was inwardly expressed in the sense of we did things together as a family, yada, 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 but nobody vocalized those things. And I felt like as a father, it's very important for me to vocalize the family bonds, family ties, and really, really, build that up. So regardless of, what kind of things our kids are into or whatever, we know that home is a safe space, and home and siblings are family. We ride or die for our siblings. So, regardless of the different challenges or different things that the kids have, they know they are each other's keeper.
Yes. And I will say we get asked that question a bunch, like, how did you make your kids like so close? And I think one thing is we are always like family over everything.
You got to vocalize it.
Oh, that's good. You have to vocalize it. You have to vocalize.
Sometimes
they don't just get it.
Yeah. And so there's times, we've got Irish twins, so like our son and daughter are very close together in age. They're about a year apart by like 12 months and a few days. So they're in school, and they're in school together. They have been ever since they can remember. And so going to school, doing all these sorts of events together and stuff like that, he's been able to be there for her and vice versa. But in those situations, sometimes you have friends, you have this, that, and the other, and it's like, no, your brother is your brother and your sister is your sister, and that is it. Like
that never dies.
That never dies, and that is the line that you draw, because these are your family members, right? And so, just fostering that in a healthy way, obviously, but really looking out for each other is very important.
I would say a lot of fathers that are dads and present and on this parenting autism, they do feel the weight of the family, the rock for the family. And so how do you get through it? Like, how do you navigate through all of these things? I mean, you have a lot of people looking at you, depending on you. I mean, both of us, but like, what are some outlets? It's important.
Oh man, I would say outlet wise, really lean on your spouse. It's something that's super, super important to try and be as honest as possible. Sometimes, for guys, it's hard to be vulnerable or honest about where we're at, emotionally, because sometimes we don't even know where we're at, right?
And wives, I would say, no matter how honest it comes out or forward, like be there, listen, absorb it, and yeah.
So a lot of it just comes down to communicating and vocalizing, and so that type of outlet. But then also there are just me time outlets that you gotta have, right? I actually love driving, going for drives and stuff like that. And so like early on when we first got up here, like in Cali, I was like, man, I want to go for a drive because I love just the hills and the scenery and stuff like that. It's got great weather. So it was a godsend, really, when we really started getting into the thick of kind of raising and developing the kids.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think it's important that every parent, but especially when you're doing it together, you both need outlets and you both got to give each other a lot of grace and space.
Yeah.
And space. Because sometimes, I think wives, we can look at our husbands and be like, well, you have outlets, like you get to do things like, or maybe I'm at home more, which is not the case for us now. But I think it's important to make sure that your spouse gets their time.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any words of encouragement that you can give some dads out there who maybe they're with their spouse or a partner, or maybe they're not. Maybe they're co-parenting together. Maybe they're a single dad. They're parenting autism. What are some like encouragement or words of wisdom that you would have wanted to hear as a young dad?
I think if I knew, and what you're essentially asking is if I knew then what I know now, and if I was to tell myself anything, that it's going to be all right, that it's uniquely them to become a how do I say this, a professional in the business of who your child is. So really study your child, really study their ways, what they're into, what they like, what they don't like, what they're great at, what they need help at. If you can do that, you will be ahead of the game. So I think continuing to study your child, continue to be there, is huge. And obviously all the normal things like love, support, affection, communication, discipline, obviously go into being a father. But I think you really level up when you can study them and make those adjustments based on what you see, what you're seeing and sensing.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that. I love you.
I love you.
I love that, studying them, because I think every child has their own personality, and especially on the ASD spectrum, they can have some interests that are very interesting and so different from you. And I think I love that. Study it, get involved with what that is, see their rhythms, and you become a part of that. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
Good advice, babe.
Well, thanks.
Well, thank you for listening in to our first podcast.
Hey,
I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I do respect you, and thank you for doing this journey with me together. And, I hope that if you're listening, I hope it's normal. This is a hard journey. It's a hard journey.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel like that. And I hope that this podcast helps you feel a little less alone.
And a little more seen.
Hey. Thanks, babe. Love you.
Thank you. Love you. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.